Okay, third time's the charm. I don't know, as my mother used to say. Well, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to the third attempt at somewhat daily tarot and rune for the 13th of May, 2021. I have everything out here. I'm not going to take any more cards. I'm not going to, I'm not going to redo anything. I'm just going to go with what I've got here. And so, anyhow, normally I would be pulling the runes and discovering the geomancy rune and all of that, but I'm not going to do that because I've already done it now enough. So, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. But anyhow, we have Hagalas for the rune for today, which is the witch rune. It's also the Norn rune of the past. We also have Caput Draconis, which is it represents the north node of the moon or new beginnings, the future. So the idea behind Hagalas is your destruction within a fixed framework. So you can think, as the witch rune, you would think witchcraft, right? You define what your space is going to be. You define the working. You define what you're going to use. The stones you're going to use, the incense, the herbs, whatever the type of candles you're going to use, whatever you're going to do. Okay, whatever it is. If you're going to create a mojo bag or a gree bag or something, you have all your stuff out. Everything is there, okay? That's your fixed framework. You know what you're going to do. You know what the working's going to be. You're not going to deviate from it, right? Because you have a goal in mind. You're wanting to influence a specific outcome, but you're not wanting to tear everything apart to do it, okay? It's like a tweaking, if you will. So then, and so that goes very, very well then with something for the future, some kind of change for the future. Now, on Monday, we had the basic theme of that reading, with the runes and with the cards, both service to self versus service to others. So no matter what the situation was in your life that was going on, that reading might apply to, the fundamental theme excuse me, was, are you operating from a service to self perspective, or are you operating from a service to others perspective? Okay, because we had the King of Pentacles and we had the was it the King of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles? Yeah. And then the fourth card was the Knight of Wands. And so there were, again, you're showing the Seven of Pentacles and the Knight of Wands having to do with service to others, and a service to others expression, versus the King of Pentacles, who's got his back to the kingdom, focused on all his stuff, right? Well, that's service to others. And it jumped right out, So again, irrespective of, what the circumstance was, if you think in terms of, okay, is this a service to others thing going on, or a service to self thing going on, whether it's yourself or whoever else is involved, you can then maybe understand the dynamic of the situation a little bit better, and then make your decisions from there. So sometimes we just do that here. We give the groundwork, and then you make your decisions from there as to what you need to do. I'm not really about predicting the future. I'm about talking about what are the general energies that are affecting things at that moment. And to me, if you know that, then because I don't know what your life is. You don't know what my life is. I don't know we all have our own stuff going on. And so we can each take what we find here and then apply it. So I like to keep it as general as possible. So you've got, in other words, I try to just give you the tools with which to then make the best decision possible for yourself. You know what the situation is, and I don't. So it just, to me, I like to just get out of the way of that and just say, here's the general information that you need to know about what it is you're dealing with. And hopefully you can find some insight from it. So anyhow, since I've been talking for, I don't even know how long now. Oh, well, half hour maybe or more. I need tea. And maybe a little colt's foot tincture to get rid of this throat business. But, allergies, it's just, we have high pollen count all the time around here. It's just driving me crazy. As soon as one's done, the other picks up. It's just awful. Anyway, so I drew, let's see, and I'm going to end up putting the Hermit in the center. We're going to make him the significator. But here we have the Hermit, which is the ninth card 9 of the Major Arcana. And 9 is about endings and completion. It's also about spirituality, as being a spiritual messenger. And realistically, I mean, I think that that's really what the hermit is. We see him holding his lamp up there. He's got a Merkaba lighting it. And the Merkaba represents our soul. Our soul. It's basically our soul vehicle, if you want to think about it that way. If you visualize in meditation a portion of you leaving your body, you can enter into a Merkaba and use it to travel about. You can do that. He's holding his staff and he's looking downward, isn't he? He's up on top of a mountain. It's snowy. He's getting away from it all, isn't he? He's getting above everything. It kind of reminds me of getting above the fray and just trying to get out of the noise of it all, trying to get out of the chaos of it all, just taking a step back. It's like if there's an argument going on, you can just kind of step back and get out of it and not participate it and then observe it, right? And you can get a different perspective than when you're in the middle of everything. And that's really what the hermit is telling us to do, is to get up and out of it and figure out what's really going on. So it's about retreat, withdrawal, listening to the inner voice, listening to divine wisdom, listening to the higher self, allowing spirit to inform your perceptions. So you get away from the world, essentially. You get away from physical form and you come up above it all and really take a look at what's going on. And get your perception aligned with spirit. Because what we've got down below here on the other two cards, we have the Five of Wands, which is about competition and creative. It's about, it's creative conflict. I don't see this as arguing, although it could go that way. If it were reversed, maybe. Not so much creative conflict, but here you've got an all-out argument with people being on their heads. But here, definitely change. Five is about change, is about protection, fulfillment, all of that. But here, even though there's a sense of things being off balance, what if this is just simply they've gotten together and there's a situation they need to deal with, and so everybody's offering their own opinion, okay? Nothing's really in alignment because it's all differing opinions. It's all differing perspectives, right? And so to me, because I don't see any blood, I don't see any wounds, I don't see any bandages or anything else, I don't see anybody laying on the ground, nobody's holding their head, they're not bereft, Instead, it's just creative conflict. But it could go a different way, right? Now here we have the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords is about a journey over water. Some people focus on the mother and the child. We're assuming that's a mother and a child. Maybe this is the dad. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just the guy she's paying to send him across the water there. But here you've got the swords piercing the boat, or at least they're facing downward. I tend to look at swords like this as perception. Okay. So for me, this is a journey that balances emotion with intellect to gain yourself a better perspective on things. To maybe smooth out your perceptions, if you will. You see here, this is winter. We see this as like the frozen body of water, the lake or the river or whatever it is. But here, it shows the water is thawed. So you see a shift, don't you? From cold to thawed, right? So I just see this as a shift in perceptions that comes from something emotional that's occurred. Six is also about harmony. It's also about shared experience. But this is definitely a change in circumstances. You're taking a new route. It's a new direction taken. That maybe you decided Hagalaz the hermit, casting his intention, for some kind of change, but within a fixed framework. Still, the family is still here. It's just they're moving. Now, I tend to see this as the father, personally, but that's just me. It doesn't have to be. But it's almost like, in a way, given that they're huddled against the cold, against the elements, it just almost seems like there's something forced about this, that they're forced to look at themselves, they're forced to rethink things, they're forced to make a change, they're forced to move on past, maybe emotions that were keeping them stuck. If we see frozen water, we can think ice, we can think things are stuck, maybe. But the hermit acts as the rune Hagalaz and gets above the fray and has to make a decision here as to what's really going on. From the creative conflict, do we move on then to something else? Let's take another card. Before the thing freezes up on me here. I reboot this computer every single time I start these things, thinking, well, if I do that, whatever else I've been doing that's hung on to memory, and I don't know. This is a Mac desktop, so I don't know how it differs from, in terms of that, than say a PC does. But in the olden days, it used to be that certain programs would hang on to the RAM. They'd hang on to the actual working memory that you're working with. And so then all of a sudden your computer would freeze up because it didn't return it basically to the workspace. It hung on to it. So you try to invoke another program, right? So it won't run because there wasn't enough memory to operate with. Well, I don't know if that happens with this thing, but good Lord, I sort of have higher expectations for this than I do my PC. So I'm going to take the 13th card. Not because it's the 13th day, but because it's my, I drew this card with the first time I did this today. Page of Cups. And here we see the water is a little emotional. So maybe this is something that happened. Maybe something happened. Let's see. How can we interpret this? With pages, you're talking students or new beginnings or something new, something youthful, undeveloped potential. So maybe, given that it's cups and it's the water element, we don't actually have a water element card here other than this one. So I think what I want to do is read this as the Hermit, as the significator, then to the Five of Wands, and then we'll have the Page of Cups suggest that that there could be something new or undeveloped about the whole thing. And then from there, the decision is made to shift our perception, to loosen it, and to move off in a different direction. So again, whereas you might have to, so maybe this is signifying a change in your circumstances where you have to now move somewhere. This could actually be you're moving, you're picking up all your stuff and going somewhere else. Maybe there's a new job waiting. Maybe your circumstances have changed to the point that you have to move somewhere else. You don't have a choice in the matter. If it's pandemic related, we're still dealing with a pandemic. Maybe it's pandemic related. Maybe you've lost a spouse. Maybe this is just the mother and child. And she has to move on to something else now. Shift her perceptions. Shift the decisions she needs to make about herself and her child, and she's moving on. Maybe she's moving home with her parents. Maybe she's just moving to some place that maybe doesn't cost her as much to live. Maybe she can support her child just fine. It's just that she has to have, she needs a not as expensive a home to live in. Maybe it could be something like that. But after some discussion and some creative conflict here, where you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? You realize that the situation maybe is less of a, oh my God, what am I going to do? But more of a, I have some undeveloped potential here I can explore. In other words, the doors are not as closed as I think they are. And if you get up away from everything and remove yourself from the chaos, get quiet, and go within and see, okay, what is higher self really telling me? You know, do I want to try to hang on to where I'm at, which I may not be able to do? Or do I need to trust my intuition, which the Page of Cups also talks about intuition? Do I want to trust my intuition and understand that there could be a myriad of doors opening for me if I just change what I'm going to do here? Shift my perception, and whether or not this is actually you picking up stakes and moving your family somewhere else, whether it's that or it's just a shift of a perception that leads you into another direction, it could be that. But it's allowing yourself to step outside what other people are saying to you and turning off the noise, getting away from it all, and re-establishing through the undeveloped potential of the Page of Cups just exactly what it is you want to do. Re-establishing what your life is going to look like, maybe. Again, Hagalaz talks about that. Hagalaz talks about destruction and preparation for change, but it talks about doing it within a fixed framework. So I don't know, this could actually involve a lot of different things. Now you can take a service to self approach to it all and not really care about the child involved. Or you can make a decision that affects your children in a way that's positive. And perhaps, in other words, you've got people right now that are involved in conspiracy thinking, much to the consternation and fear, horror of their families. Maybe this is, that individual waking up and realizing, hey, I was conned. Because they're being conned, being duped. And they're falling for it. So, maybe this is something about that, where you see a shift in perception to something where you make the realization, you get out away from the drama, you get out away from the continual propaganda. In other words, you shut off the computer. Get away from it all so you can see things more realistically. So it could be anything to do with that, Again, the fact though that we end with the swords, this is perception. Shift in perception, shift in direction. So understand that you don't want to fear it because there could be a tremendous amount of undeveloped potential just waiting for you to then manifest something really truly incredible for yourself. If it means healing relationships that have been strained over the last few years, it could be that. It could be anything. Because it's perception related. So it really could be anything that you're dealing with. Just get out away from it all. Get away from the noise. Go within. Let your inner light explain to you just exactly where you went wrong, basically. And let's get on the right track with the 6 into some sort of shared experience. So I guess that's it. And I didn't freeze up yet. Yay. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching. And I hope you come back for Sunday's Esoteric Influences, Esoteric and Magical Influences, I should say. I changed the title. And then again on Monday and Thursday of next week for Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune. Everywhere I'm at is in the links below the video. And if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can get that. If you do it before Sunday, then or Saturday rather, then you'll get it in your inbox. And it includes the esoteric and magical influences for the coming week. It includes other stuff too. I'm excerpting some stuff out of a book I wrote called When Vampires Attack, which is about different types. And I'm just excerpting the parts that talk about the different types of energy vampires that I talk about in the book. So for those of you that are empathic, you may want to read that. So if you want to sign up for the newsletter, do so. Or buy the book. It doesn't matter. Either way, there's links to it in the newsletter. There might even be a link to it below the video. But if not, you can go over to the blog at Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com, and you can see them on the side panel. Click on it and order it. if you like. It's available in Kindle, also in paperback over there on Amazon. So, but anyhow, if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you'll get that. You'll get an excerpt from it. You can see what it's all about, and because I still have a couple of more that I need to talk about. So it'll be a few more newsletters yet before I'm done. And join me over on Patreon. It's $1 a month. You can just sign up for a month at a time, and if you want to do that, or you can do a whole year if you want. Let's see, I also write over on Medium, so check that stuff out there as well. And if I don't see you until Monday, have a wonderful weekend, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.